Heyo, my Planet Zoo friends. Johnny5 Alive here. Welcome back to some more Planet Zoo. Let's build. So here we are. Another day. I gotta say, today was one of those days where, you know, you're just feeling a lack of inspiration and motivation, but you just persevere through it, push on through. Just having one of those off days personally. Today is Friday at the time of this recording. So what we're doing here is what I talked about in previous episodes, just lining that perimeter with some more decorations. Now, this is just a temporary quick thing in part of this video. We're gonna, the main focus of today's episode is the Lion Mountain. And I gotta say, it's a difficult task, and I was lacking the inspiration. And I don't know how to explain it, but I think the big mound there was a difficult situation. It's flat at the top, it arcs up. I just don't like the overall design. And I still, by the end of this episode, have a lot of work to do, but looking at the footage here, I got about 15 minutes of speed build, and some of the footage was lost. My computer hard crashed. Like, it just completely gave me one of those. And so I lost like a half an hour recording somewhere. The game crashed on me a couple times. Yeah, just so the footage should be kind of all over the place. It might skip around. So what I'm doing is I'm digging out the tunnel. So this is like, it's tricky working underground, and honestly, like, I want to try to avoid big, giant, sprawling underground areas as much as possible. And this is all a learning experience for me in terms of like what to do, what not to do. And in the future, I'm definitely going to avoid doing big caves unless it's unless it's a much smaller scale. Because we already did it for the Hippo underground viewing, and that was a lot of work. And this area is even bigger, and I do not like spending my time underground in a cave. It's just not very inspiring. So I'm trying to work out these canals. Originally, you see the two holes at the back. I had the idea of the guests coming out the back, and what ended up happening is there's too much circular wraparound. So we have this big giant circle for the hippos, and then we have a big giant circle for the lions. And basically, I'm just making big circles and filling them in. And I don't like that. I want to make it a little bit more dynamic. So, you know, I'm struggling with ideas, trying to figure things out. I think by the end of this episode, when we go into the game and take a look at things, I have a pretty good direction. And it's just about the finer details. And that's what we'll be doing in the next episode, is just getting them fine details in. So I'm opening up the cave, and I've created these caves on the left and right side. So the lions do want enclosure space. They want, what do you call it? They want, can't think of the word. they want shelter. There we go. They need shelter. So we have to have these caves on the sides, and then I can put the single-sided glass so the guests can go into the mountain and view the lions in their sleeping areas. Now, the lion area here is just like too big. It's almost the size of the hippo area. So I came up with a solution by the end of this episode, and we'll talk about that once we're in game. And we're going to do, I guess I'll give you a hint, but we're going to do a shared enclosure. We're not going to give it all to the lions. So I ran into some weird issues with the fencing. Basically, with the hippopotamus fencing, it's a big circle, and then the staff comes out the basically one part of the circle. Well, with this way, I made it so the staff comes out of the center, and the circle's around that. So they're not the staff fence is not a part of the outer parameter, and that doesn't work in this game. I didn't know that. So new learning experience. You can't just make a big enclosure. Basically, to define what an enclosure is, it needs to have a entrance gate. So you can't just like make a big circle, and then somewhere in the middle is a gate where they come out of underground. That just doesn't work. And that's also, honestly a little bit disappointing, because that should be part of the creative process. Is like, okay, but I get it, because it needs to outline the parameter. So I found an interesting workaround, basically creating like a U shape, and we have to kind of use some null barriers. You see an eagle there at the top of the mountain that just kind of appeared out of nowhere. It's $5,000 for that. Somebody made it on the Steam Workshop. I'll try to pull up their name once we're at real time in game. I don't have that information on me right now, and I got too many things going on screen. So I just want to keep up with the recording here, and we'll show you who made that Eagle's Landing. And I thought that was like a great centerpiece. We talked about doing like the Pride Rock or something that towers over. I wanted a big centerpiece at the very end there. That turned out to be really nice. I love the idea of the eagle there spreading its wings, and then we're gonna put an exhibit. So while I was in the middle of doing all this terraforming, I thought, let's go in and expand the water for the hippos. Still not enough, believe it or not. What do we see there? It says like 8,500 water. Let's see what the update is. About 10,000. So I went and added more. What did we end up with here? 11,000 and 12,000 land. So I could technically do another 500 or so, but that's good for now. We got 10. What was it? 12 and 12 or something. There's a lot of space for the hippos. Hopefully it's enough for a full herd. That would be ideal. So yeah, I had the idea of running the guests at the back, but then, I was like, maybe I'll do that, maybe I won't. But first of all, let's just get the staff buildings in. So we have a large keeper hut. What else is in there? Veterinarian. I think there's a quarantine. There's the trade center and a staff room, a small staff room. So hopefully that's enough amenities for our staff. I hope so. One thing you don't see here, I forgot about, was the water and the power, but that gets added in. So I'm just walling it in and creating some tunnels, and then that just gets filled with rock after. Nothing spectacular. And how much of this cave am I going to decorate? I haven't decided, but I thought it would be cool if we have time to put a few of those viewing exhibits in, like those aquarium tank things with some like toads or something. It'd be cool to come in the cave and there's like some exhibits along the walls of the cave and kind of buried in there, as well as like the viewing exhibit for the lions. So I think that would be cool in the long run. So we have room. I'm not going to worry about decorating the interior of the cave too much right now. What I want to do is make sure the enclosure is good, because by the end of this episode, I think we have less than $50,000 left. So we started with 250. We're at about a fifth of what we have left, 20%. And we still have to get like education in, all the donation bins, what else, like signs and benches and lamps and all sorts of stuff. Then I got to make sure the exhibits, the enclosures have everything that they need. So we might have to do some additional painting, might have to put some additional bushes and environment stuff down. We got to make their beds, their feeder things, and all that stuff adds up, especially for, we're gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 exhibits that we have to. Yeah. So this is the spot where I started to realize I didn't like my design. Having one of those off days. Making a big circle around the outside. It turns out to be pretty much bigger than our hippo area, and I was like, something's wrong here. The lions don't need this much space. They're not freaking hippos. The guests going around a big circle and then another around another big circle. I'm like, I don't like this. I need to change up the design here. Come up with something a little bit more unique. And after it crashed, I came back and thought about it a little bit more, and I think the end result is something pretty good, but it needs a lot of jazzing up. It needs like, there's still spots of the big mound that are like kind of flat, that need some extra rocks, some shrubs, maybe even just more terraforming, where we bring up certain parts of the land and shape it a little bit more. It just needs more massaging. So you can see what I'm doing here with the path now is I'm making an upper viewing area that wraps around the eagle. So that way you can come to the back of it and you can look down at the lions, and then there's that front bit that goes over the whole park, so you can walk around the front edges, and then we extend it even more. So I'm making this little mounty area. I have an idea of want to do another cascading waterfall. Waterfalls are a great way to make an area look nice. It takes up space, you get some water in, it just looks pretty. Even though it's on the back side, there will be paths that we bring down here. So rather than like the guests walking around the enclosure, we're getting them to walk through the enclosure and above the lions. And I thought that was like a unique way to do it. But then they also go underground, and then they can view the caves. So if you actually go into the cave, you can't leave, like you have to leave the way you came in. And I think that is a good change. I like it a little bit better. We have these little circular areas that you need to do some gardening. And we're closing in all the staff area. And eventually I might make that wall that we're filling in there an exhibit for like scorpions or something like that. I don't know. We'll figure it out. So we're running out of time. It's Friday, and I'm like, crap, like I got Saturday, Sunday, I guess some of Monday, but it would be good to say like we're done on Monday, because the beta ends on Tuesday. I don't know what time on Tuesday, but it'd be good to make sure that like we're done before Tuesday, because if the game just closed down at like the moment it turns Tuesday and we don't have access to the game anymore, that's gonna really suck. So we want to try to be done Monday and get our last recordings out then, which means I have the rest of tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday. So even though I'm not having the creative juices going right now, like at this time I'd say, you know what, let's put the game down and go do something else and rest. The problem is we only have 3 days left, so I just gotta push through, because I really want to try to make at least finalize what we've started here. We don't even have freaking animals in yet. So you know, all these days of building that we've been doing, we have to come up with something here. So I was struggling with the barrier parameter. Like I said, if you have an outer area, but then the staff comes in out of nowhere, it doesn't count as a parameter. So I had to do this like weird thing, and I'll show you once we get into game. And even that I'm not happy with, so I figured out the final solution of what we're actually going to end up doing. So I'm doing the glass enclosure here, filling it all in, messing with all that, and then just doing the rock. Now the rock work here needs an extreme amount of painting. It needs additional scenery, and you know, it just needs a little bit more reworking. But we're just trying to flesh out the bulk of it, the shape of it, and then we'll just go in and dress it up, paint it up, and hopefully it ends up looking kind of nice. So we're getting close to the end of the speed build. We got a couple more minutes here. So I'm just fleshing out the caves, and then maybe I end up doing some stuff off screen, because I know there's a lot more of it that's been done to this in terms of pathing. Maybe I get it done in this next little section. Be nice. But my recordings are all over the place for this one, because I lost some, and yeah, it just got a little crazy. So yeah, I mean, I'm not like entirely in love with this lion area, but I think sometimes like if it's not perfect, it's not right, something's off about it, if you just start dressing it up and decorating it, it'll turn out to be something nice. I just think it's a little odd having the lion caves on either side, and then they get fed at the back, whereas away from the guests, but then we bring the guests forward. And I think out of all this craziness, it forces you to kind of adapt, and then we ended up actually coming up with something pretty cool. And I think once it's all dressed up, it'll actually be a really nice area. So, you know, my only thought about the only thing that I didn't really, the speed build's pretty much at the end. So why don't we talk more about this in game? And yeah, so we'll just go real time. Boom, see you in game. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are in game at the Zanzibar Zoo. And now with that eagle in the back, look at the composition. It's cascading. We have the sign with the waterfall, the hippo with the eagle below. That almost looks like the eagle's trying to grab the hippo. But we have a lot of depth. We have the bridge running across to a mountain. So there's some things that I'm still unhappy with. You know, like this wall, it's just big and flat from a distance. It's just flat. It looks too man-made. So we can fix that up with like the terrain chisel tool. You know, we can We can change that up a little bit, add a little bit of noise. We can add some more trees, some foliage. We can paint. Painting will help a lot. So there are ways to fix this up, and then we won't need to add things for our enclosure. So I think after we do all that, it'll start coming together and looking pretty nice. So here's a look at the lion's den all the way around. Like I said, I want to do another one of those waterfall tops there, a little pool up top, cascading down, and then one more waterfall here. And then there's that little bottom area. So I think that'll turn out looking pretty nice. And then the viewing platform, this is where they're generally going to be fed, but we will put some extra dishes about. I don't know. We'll figure it out. And yeah, so the guests will be able to see them down below. They'll be able to see them swimming. So I do like the way the staircase turned out. They can get some really nice views of the waterfall. They can walk around this giant centerpiece. Speaking of which, I gotta check the Steam Workshop and see who made this. And I'm just flipping through the pages on the workshop trying to find it. And there's so much talent out there. You guys have been making some amazing stuff. I feel like we're gonna have to do some episodes showing off some of the blueprints again. I can't seem to find it. I'll type in Eagle. See if oh, that brought it up. All right, it's called Eagle Rock Cave, created by Existence is Pain. Oh wow, what a name. So thank you to that creator for creating this. Let's take a closer. Whoa, Steam. All right, let's take a closer look at this. Look at the beak, the details on this, the claws. It's phenomenal. The wing spread, you can see all the feathers with individual rocks. That is just stunning. I mean, it's remarkable. Now, I really hope that the animals will actually go up and use this as an enclosure. I did modify it a bit. I made it a little bit bigger. So my idea here, what I want to do, so first of all, let's show you guys how this enclosure worked. I needed to come up with a solution. So what I did is I essentially ran a null barrier up and around in this tiny little crevice, and then one right beside it. So basically, the loop is like a U, but the hollow part of the U is really small. So in theory, all of this stuff in between here is not considered part of the enclosure. That was the only way to do it, because I had to like bring it up in, wrap it around, bring it all the way down, and back in. So basically this has to be attached. And if I brought it straight to here, this ends up being the enclosure. That's not good. And I tried just bringing a loop around this way, and it said your barrier is backwards. So you can't do inverse exhibits. So with that said, I'm not entirely happy with the way that turned out, but it was the only way to do it. Either that, or we move our staffing area over here and then they come out. But I like the fact that the staff come through this cave and then they go into their staff area. So there's everything they need, and then they can pop out here, feed the lions, do all that stuff, go in and clean, and then come back in. So what my plans are with this is essentially, I don't think the lions like these kind of decorations, and that's going to be problematic. And I do want to leave the centerpiece there. So what I think we could do after the game stops freezing, we'll put another habitat or keeper house here, another staff room, and then yeah, it's actually hidden and low enough where it won't bother the guests. And we build that into the back of the waterfall. We embed it all in. We do a path that wraps basically all the way out and connects to here. We could even bring it to this side as well. And then we fence this in. We fence it in here, and this here becomes a grizzly bear enclosure. Gotta bring the grizzly bears back in. They were the first thing we ever picked, so we gotta bring them back. And this is a big enough area for them, and hopefully this cave counts as their enclosure area, and they like it. Be cool to see grizzlies chilling up here, sleeping in here. That would be quite amazing. We could add a little bit of water for them to swim somewhere about there, but we'll bring the barrier in and tie it off here. So basically this big U shape. That'll be our grizzly bear enclosure. Now hopefully they're not too mad about the plants, but at this point I don't even care. If they're unhappy, they're unhappy. And what that means is with this silly enclosure. All we have to do is have this weird little thing and then connect it in and then connect it in. And then this whole parameter, we can use the back side of the grizzly bear fence to bring it all in. I will have like a weird squiggly area there, but that's okay. I mean, the other option is to bring the grizzlies right back to here, but then the lions don't get a whole lot of water room. I mean, that's not a terrible idea, to be honest, but that's just too much space for grizzlies. Just way too much. Be cool if we push this in though, and then like had dry land inside. The grizzlies could actually use that as their enclosure den. Be pretty awesome. And then that would be a backup if this didn't work. But yeah, it's just too much space for just little grizzlies. So I definitely want to cut that off. And then this area here is a great amount of space for the lions. Almost too much. Definitely too much. So yeah, what I probably should have done is split this area, had lions on one side and another animal on the other, and we could still do that later. It's not the end of the world. We just add another keeper door. That wouldn't be too hard to fix. So if I want to do that later, we can, but we're getting close to the end of the beta. There's only a few days left, so I'm like, you know what, screw it. I like certain aspects of this park a lot, and I think once we dress up this area, it'll come out pretty good. We got the bears on top, the lions around the perimeter, hippos down below, and then these guys up front. There's a lot of different depth going on here. Now, we'll see how long it takes me to finish this. I want to get back to the lion. I'm trying to get this recording out and done so that I can get back to building stuff without kind of spoiling what I've done. So I have to record this now in order to continue building, because this is a big enough episode as is, and I think just filling this up and getting it all detailed is going to be an episode of itself. And hopefully by the end of that, because we're down to 40,000 here and I got to make sure everything is set, I think now is the time to get the animals in. Obviously I just got to fix up the grizzly bear enclosure, let the lions in, let the hippos in, we have to buy these guys, we got to buy the grizzlies, get them all in. Once they're in, we got to look into, you know, what it takes to make them happy. So I got to figure out what kind of plants and stuff the lions like, and what, you know, I don't really care about the grizzlies. If they're unhappy with that, they're unhappy. Whoop-de-doo. And then we just got to dress up all the different areas according to their specifications. So before we do that, there's just a few more details I'd like to hash out. Just painting this a little bit nicer. I mean, we got to paint it further when we get the lions in, so maybe I'll just wait. But yeah, I want to set up the waterfall, get that in place, get that working. And then get the parameter for the grizzlies in, get that all working, get the keeper hut built in and hidden. And I think that's it. I just need to get those couple things fixed. Then we have to set up all the educational speakers. I'll do that all off screen. Yeah, basically we have enough power and stuff in this area. We got everything's taken care of. That's the water, that's the power. So we have more than enough for education. So I just got to get all that stuff in, get the donations bin and donation bins in. And I think we got to do that like ASAP, because if I run out of money before the donation bins are in, then we're screwed, because the park won't be making any money. So I'm just gonna fix up the waterfall, fix up the grizzly area, make sure it's all set, get the last keeper hut in, start putting education in, donation bins in, and then we'll get the lions in, get all the animals in, and then I'll probably do a speed build. Like, I'll do most of that off camera, so when you guys tune into tomorrow's episode, you see me speed build the waterfall, you'll see me speed build the enclosure here, and it'll cut. Then I'll have all the educational stuff in magically. Then the speed build will continue of basically once the animals are in, you'll see me just painting, decorating for all the exhibits. So at the end of tomorrow's episode is what I'm hoping is we'll be basically spotlighting the live action park with all the animals, the guests wandering around, and we're just going to find out whether it's a make it or break it. If we go in debt and we lose all our money and the park doesn't profit, well, that's our park and it's a failure park. But we managed to make it look really nice, and I'm still pretty happy about the way things turned out. We'll be able to look at it all, and we'll see all the animals in. I'll have 5 different enclosures, and it'll be something. But I have a feeling it will profit. Our upkeep is only 3,000, and I definitely think we can make more than that. So we'll see once we get the last little bits in. And the food, they hit you with the food like because there's going to be all these animals at once, and the food trays have never been filled up. And I notice whenever they do, like, food will last for a very, very long time. So they'll just like go around and fill up the food dishes, and you'll have like this huge hit on your monthly cost. But like in the next month, there just won't be any food costs at all. So once in a while, and I think that's what's going to really hit us, and that's why I wanted to try spending all of our money first. So we'll see where we're at. I'm going to do all that, set it all up, and then we're going to like try to get everything detailed, and we'll see how much money I have left. And maybe before I push play, if we have anything left over, we can look into making one more exhibit or something. We'll see. But that's where I'm at, guys. What do you think of the Lions Den down in the comments below? I wasn't too happy about it, but I don't hate it either. And I mean, did I show you guys in here before yeah, there's the staff room back there, same with back there. And yeah, what I need to do here is add a garden, decorate the sides just a little bit, and then donation bins, speakers, and stuff like that. I want to eventually add some container exhibits here so they can kind of check that out. And then garden here, same as the other side. I think that's like pretty enough. It doesn't need to be too elaborate. But yeah, you just come in, you look at the lions, you look at whatever exhibits we end up putting there, and then you come back out to the food court area. So I think that's enough. And then if you want, you can come up to this big, you could watch the Grizzlies, and then you can kind of tour around the lion area, and you get a view of everything from here except for the lion den, which you get underneath. So in terms of viewing capacity, we covered the whole thing, and I think doing this was a lot cooler of a concept than just walking around the outside of something. So I came through at the very end with a decent fix, because I didn't like the idea of just doing another circle around, and then we just have like circle, boring. So we came up with something a little bit different. Now it's just a giant kettlebell or something. Yeah, so once we get all the trees and things in, I think that area will look good. But what do we do to tie it all together? I mean, we got to put trees around the outside, and maybe we can squeeze in more exhibits. I don't know. I'm getting a little bit burnt out. We did a lot in the last couple days, considering I lost my park and I was just like, go. There's been many episodes on this park at the time of this recording. You guys would have seen many episodes. It's going to run for long after the beta is done, so, or at least a few days. So I hope to get at least a few more episodes, if not more. I'm going to try and push as many as I can out of tonight, Saturday, and Sunday, and maybe we could do a little bit on Monday, but we want to try to wrap things up Monday and get the final spotlight out. But it's been a long time of building with no freaking animals and not pushing play. It's been very weird considering the way we've been doing things in the previous episodes, where I would make my money and build some stuff, manage as I go. And I honestly really liked that. I really did. But that caused us to get a corrupted save file, too much management going on at once. And this is like, I mean, I'm still getting a solid 60 FPS. So none of this is taking a hit on any of the performance, because we don't have a single animal in. That's what really kills the FPS, is the guests and the animal AI scripts all running at once. So I just wanted to build as much as I can before crashing the game. Bring all these animals in, and it won't be too much, but we'll definitely have a good 50 animals between the lions, hippos, and whatever's up front. So that's a third of what the last park had. So I think we'll be okay, and I'll just look into doing some more after that. But if we just manage to get the lions, the hippos, in this front area in, and then decorate the outside, some trees, I'm still pretty happy with that park for the beta, considering we lost the last park and the first park was a failure. So for a third go at it, I feel like I've accomplished a lot in this beta, learned a lot, and I'm feeling pretty prepped for release. And in some cases, I'm sad I'm going to lose this one. I do feel this is a pretty badass hippo enclosure. But they just announced water rides, a boat ride that goes through the water, and then you have the safari ride. So if I ever did hippos in the future, and hippos are definitely like an S tier animal, they're the best. Like, yeah, they're definitely my favorite animal in the game right now, just because of the amount of space you get to build and the amount of water you get to play with, the amount of land you get to play with. So in the future, if I do a hippo area, what I'm thinking is it'll be 50% water, 50% land, of course. We'll go even bigger than this, so we get that full 15-15, so they get more than enough space for an entire herd. And then you have an on-ground safari ride taking you through the land part of the hippo area. Then you have a water ride taking you through the water area of the hippos. Then you have a glass viewing area for land and a glass viewing area for ground, overhead walkways. So basically what we have here plus safari and boats. That would be amazing, and it takes you into a jungle or something. So yeah, even though I'm gonna lose this, I still think I can do better next time on release. So yeah, loving the hippos though. Definitely a go-to animal. Boom, there you guys go. That's gonna do it for me here today in today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please be sure to hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe for more daily Planet Zoo videos. And if you'd like to support the show, please do check out my Patreon page. Links are down in the description below. And I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye now.